Welcome to Everyday Investor with Toor. I'm Sarah Larby, guest host and producer, and we've got a great episode coming up for you. But if you're at home and you're thinking, what should I do? What should I invest in? I will say things are changing. The market is changing. It might be time to pivot, taking action, but also ensuring that you have staying power, as we don't know exactly what's going to happen in the next year or two. So staying power, taking calculated action. There's lots of great opportunity, but it may be time to pivot a little bit. And we've got some great guests, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
But they stopped cash flowing. So it was really hard to do these deals and offer them to joint venture partners where the math just didn't make sense. So we were like, okay, what are we going to do? What's next?
Hey, it's Sarah Larby here. Did you know that if you are selling your home or investment property, one of our preferred agent partners will sell it for you for free? That's right, zero commissions. Head over to our website, everydayinvestor.com, to find out more.
Hey guys, Lee here from Wise Construction. Want to talk a little bit about setting your structural beams in place and the materials you're going to use. We're still having issues and still finding it difficult to get LVLs versus steel. So we've completely switched over to steel, and the one thing we've noticed is we can do a lot more with it. A little bit more tricky, a little bit harder to install, but you know what? Once you've done it a few times, it's really the same thing, but much easier to get steel versus LVLs, and it keeps your projects moving along in a timely fashion. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.
The mortgage world has changed. Has your advice? Are you looking for a modern approach to your mortgage planning process? Advice tailored to your unique, ever-changing circumstances? Whether you're upsizing, downsizing, purchasing, or refinancing, the Kyle Ford Mortgage team works with individuals and companies to custom tailor the right mortgage product for you. Working with a wide selection of lenders, we're here to serve our clients and help them achieve their real estate and retirement goals. Contact the Kyle Ford Mortgage team today, Canada's mortgage choice.
Brady, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great, Sarah. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Now, I've been following you on social media, and obviously we've been speaking, and you've come out to our retreat at the resort. And I found it really amazing how you started doing some real estate stuff, and then you've pivoted along the way, and now you're doing a bunch of stuff in Florida, some storage units and everything in between. So you've got lots of experience, and so I thought we would bring you on so you could share a little bit about your pivoting strategy over the last couple of years. But before we get into that, give us a little bit of background about you and who you are as a real estate investor.
So I grew up in small town Owen Sound, Ontario. Small town, playing hockey, soccer, that kind of stuff. Family didn't have a whole lot of money. So I actually started cutting grass and shoveling snow when I was like 9 years old to pay for my hockey equipment. So fast forward a few more years, I ended up going to college, Fleming College in Lindsay. Long story short, in between first year, second year, I heard about this great company called Hydro One, right? And so, some of my friends, brothers, some of the older guys had these jobs, and they always had a brand new truck and a full case of beer, of course, right? And I'm like, hey, that's what I would like to do, right? And 2 weeks later, I worked for Hydro One. So, my career there was about 14 years long, but about year 12, I was a utility arborist instructor, and I also had a tree service on the side. So, about year 12, I was looking for what was more, what was next, how to create financial freedom for myself and my family, and also time freedom. And that's where we ran into a guy, because my wife is a real estate appraiser, and she had done it. She was doing an appraisal for this gentleman who she recognized, and he was a full-time real estate investor, and explained how many doors he had. I think he had like 87 units at the time. And we were mind blown. Like, she told me this in the car, and I literally did all the math. And this is kind of like where the light bulb went off in the opportunity in real estate investing. And I realized, like, this guy's making like $1 million a year in cash flow mortgage paid down appreciation. I said, if he can do it, I can do it. So we read a book, Real Estate Investing in Canada by Don Campbell, and we started looking for what was the strategy. So we bought a single family home, converted it to a duplex, did the BRRRR model, and it worked. And once we realized it worked, we started scaling that business. And so of course, working full time still at Hydro One. This is a side hustle that we really quickly started doing 25 to 35 deals a year while working full time. We created systems, we hired lots of staff, and started a construction company, a property management company. And it was going really well. In 2017, I quit my job and just to focus on real estate. And if you recall, 17, the market was just going crazy, right? It was just, so we just started going into other markets, expanding outside of Barrie, which is where we were focusing initially. And that kind of kept the volume up, and, it was really great. So kind of to the pivoting, I think something that you mentioned before, the market was just going up and up and up, and the duplexes just stopped cash flowing. So the strategy was to, buy a single family home, convert it to a duplex, and refinance it. We stuck to one thing and just did it really well. But they stopped cash flowing. So it was really hard to do these deals and offer them to joint venture partners where the math just didn't make sense. So we were like, okay, what are we going to do? What's next? I think it was just fortunate for us. It was just by accident that coach houses in Barrie became an opportunity where we could literally buy a single family home, convert it to a duplex, and then build a detached coach house in the rear yard, and which is essentially a single family home. So we were building these, and it kind of saved us because we've got 20 staff, lots of families now that are relying on us, and we scaled. So we started doing that. We were probably the first ones in Barrie. I don't know, we probably did 40 of those. And then the math just kept on, like the values kept on going higher and higher and higher. And I'm like, but what are we going to do again? I felt the same pressure. And that's where, I did the 75. I was doing the 75 hard. I know there's a bunch of people starting that right now. And I just got a lot of clarity, and we can go, that's another conversation, but got a lot of clarity. I got these ideas, and we started doing new construction. So we'd actually buy big houses on big lots, knock the houses down, sever them into as many as we could, build purpose-built duplexes in the front and coach houses in the back. So we'd get 6 to 9 units on all of these lots. But we're kind of purposely always pushed to that next strategy or that next, idea that was going to continue the business forward until we went to the US. That's where I said, okay, Brady, we're purposefully going to scale to the next level. And we found it really hard to do that in Canada. So we went down to Florida. We didn't know anybody. We didn't know the strategy we were going to deploy. We didn't know where we were going to go. We didn't know how to get financing. We knew nothing. But we just came down, filled up the car full of all the kids' stuff, and drove down and, went to a mastermind, met a bunch of great people, got some clarity as the opportunity, started creating relationships. And now we're into, $30 million self-storage facilities, a couple of those, and a bunch of other stuff. So
very cool.
That's my story.
I mean, it is incredible because, along the way you're pivoting, you're doing something that makes more sense, right? Because even when I first started myself, I was doing BRRRRs on single families back in 2013, 2014, and then it had to be the 2 units. Now, 3 and 4 units, they still work, but again, depending on what the numbers are going to look like and how much more, inflation is going to keep going and rates and increases and all that kind of stuff. Like at some point, you've got to pivot. So I like that you started off, small, and you added the ADUs when that was, opened up, I think with Bill 108 for all of Ontario. Then you scaled into something different, and now you're in Florida. But one of the things that I also admire a lot about what you're doing along the way is like you said, you've built staff systems, processes in place, and it allows you to also have that work-life balance. So talk to us about that piece, and because you've got a lot of property, you're doing a lot of projects, but how do you balance it all out?
Yeah, no, this is a common topic that we talk about a lot and we're quite passionate about, and it really stems from working at Hydro One and the reality that I worked for the training department, I ran a training center, and everything that we did there was step by step by step. So that way, we got thousands of people not killing themselves right around the hydro lines. So it was just it was natural when we started buying real estate and doing renovations, and I'm realizing that there's all these little problems, and the solution to the problem was to implement a system or a process or a checklist or a form, right? And then, because a lot of real estate investors wear many hats, right? So you have to be a property manager, renovator, evictor, problem solver, painter, you name it. And it's hard to do it all. So what you need to do is get what's in your head out. And the only way, so that way you can hire and empower people to follow what you know. And the only way to do that is through systems. So that's really allowed us to scale the business, but also not be tied to it, right? So, when you implement systems and processes and stuff into a business, you actually create a machine that'll work harder for you than you do for it, which kind of releases the bars so you're not stuck in your own jail that you created. So that's been really great for us. But, besides that, the business runs and it's really about having the ability to step back and let your staff do their job, right? And just coach them from the sidelines and really let go because, people, I do know also some entrepreneurs that just have that, they can't get to that point, right? And that maybe they can't hire that first person, or don't even think about hiring somebody. And then they're really tied to the business. So once you can do that, that's when you can enjoy your lifestyle, right? You can be doing deals from Florida or on a beach somewhere or on a boat, right? You don't always need to be in the office watching over people, right? So that's essentially, that's what I give the credit to.
Amazing. So let's just like maybe see if we can give the audience like a little bit of like key takeaways in terms of like maybe some of the processes specifically that you implemented. Like what was it? Like was there a specific maybe property management type of checklist, or like is there something specific that you're like, this took a lot of time and effort off of my plate? Was it hiring the staff? Like certain like titles, certain types of jobs?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so like we created a whole course around this because there's so much. There's literally 98 lessons inside the course, so it's hard to pick with just one. But we've broken them down into 5 different sections. So renovations, like as if you're creating a renovation company, there's probably like 30 things that you need to do, and then there's property management. Acquisitions is another big section where there's a lot of due diligence required to do to get done to make sure that you get your files and everything set up, your account set up properly. But let's just talk about people, because the systems, like it's not overly complicated. For example, like systemizing the materials that go into your properties. Okay, once you do that once, you never do it again. You can create checklists for acquiring properties. These are all the things that need to happen. And then a simple file system. This is stuff that's in books, right? Most people just don't do it. It's there. But anyway, let's talk about people. When you're doing renovations or project management, you need somebody that you can trust. Right. And that is really where I think that gives you the most amount of freedom is that one person. But you also need somebody in the office that's doing the $25, $30 an hour tasks that have to get done, because if you don't, you're going to bury yourself. And especially when you're dealing with joint venture partners, your accountability to them is extremely high. So you can't technically, like, you can't afford it. But I mean, like you really can't be delinquent and get behind on the back end office stuff. So I think you need a project manager, right, that you can trust, and then somebody behind the scenes, in the back of the office, that can do the basic bookkeeping. Like those are 2 first things that I would really focus on if I was looking to scale.
Amazing. Now, you still have your Ontario or your Canada business, as you're now in Florida a little bit more. I think half the year you're traveling, you're in Florida. So you're now setting up these businesses, these processes, these people in both of those locations. Is that correct? Yeah,
exactly. So when we came to Florida, what I know about business is that, it's better for you to take action than for you to wait for it to be perfect. And perfect action will always be perfect action, because we'll be done it, 10 years ahead of time, because perfection is a lie. So when we came down here, we're just like, okay, let's just buy houses. Let's just buy some property. We already know how to flip houses or BRRRR them, whatever. It's the same. So we'll just duplicate what we have in Canada down here. So we quickly hired people the exact same way that we do in Canada, off Indeed or Wise Hire, interviewed them the same way. We hired them. We had really no business even set up yet, but it was still completely legit. You don't have to have all your ducks in a row to hire people. And that's what we started. We started throwing offers. We started figuring out how to get financing, and before we closed, we got financing. Right.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
So you know what? It's great. I mean, like, obviously it's great to see that you've put all these systems, processes in place. And I know you've spoken a lot about that, and you've got a course. That's awesome to hear that as well. When we do come back though, let's dig into a little bit more the Florida properties, but also you're working on a really cool project. So don't go anywhere, folks. We will be right back, and we will hear about this awesome project that Brady is now working on. Hey, it's Sarah Larby here. Did you know that if you are selling your home or investment property, one of our preferred agent partners will sell it for you for free? That's right, 0 commissions. Head over to our website, everydayinvestor.com, to find out more.
Are you looking to buy an investment property and you're not sure where to source the down payment from? You may be sitting on it. Many investors find this first source of their down payment for their first investment property from the equity in their current home. The number one objection I hear is, well, then my monthly payment is going to go up. A couple things. What if you restructured that debt to make sure that you weren't paying out of pocket for that additional cost? Or what if you were buying a quality cash flow property that produced enough rental income to pay for that additional borrowing costs? Now, this may not be for everybody, but this is an exceptional strategy that works really well for getting people into that first property, that first investment. If you're looking for a customized solution that would work for you, reach out to myself and the Kyle Ford Mortgage team.
Hey, it's Rav. A few years back, I learned about trading stock options by taking the Theta Trading course. My son, my friends, myself, all of us benefited immensely by applying their strategies, and I want you to have that same benefit by taking their course as well. I'm not receiving any monetary benefit whatsoever by telling you this. It's just that, as you know, I believe that knowledge mitigates risk. Visit their site to find out more.
You've always dreamed of having rental income, but buying a rental property? Well, that's a tall order. Capitalize on the space in your home instead. Renovate and rent out that space with ease with LegalSecondSuites.com and the team at Wise Construction Group. With LegalSecondSuites.com, our talented team of BCIN designers, engineers, carpenters, and tradespeople can transform that unused space into a beautiful, legal, and safe rental unit. We're empowering the everyday homeowner to become an extraordinary landlord. Get more out of your home. Visit LegalSecondSuites.com for more information.
Welcome back. We are speaking to Brady McDonald about how he's pivoted. He's went from going to duplex conversions, adding ADUs, additional dwelling units, to, fast forward, Florida investments, and now storage units. So that is not something that I think we've talked much about on this show yet. So let's start. Why storage units?
Yeah, storage. Well, it actually kind of goes back. I'll just say this real quick. When we first got into real estate and we were looking for what was next, we were looking into storage, but it was just like a high, it realized how much capital it costs to get into it. So it just didn't come to fruition. We got into the residential space anyway. It's a lower barrier to entry. So when we went down to the US, that was my big goal. It's like I went to this mastermind because there was a guy that was going to be talking about storage. And, I'm a firm believer in hiring, coaches. You can really turn, decades of work into days and really fast track to success. So, that was on my goal list. And I hired the person that was going to be able to help me. And I love storage because it is very, especially in times right now, like it's very recession resistant. You're not dependent on one tenant profile. So it's businesses, young people, old people. Anytime people move, right? And it's highly profitable. It's a massive market. It's about 40 billion. They expect it to go, I think I just read in an article, 70 billion in the next 10 years. So it's a growing industry. And the reason we picked in the South is because they don't have basements. And there's a massive in-migration from the northern states in California and New York, all going down to Texas and Florida and Arizona and these locations. And there's so many people there. And it's really actually it's not as easy. It's not really easy, but it's easy to really figure out where the demand is relatively, right? So you could say, okay, here's a pocket. There's 800,000 square feet of demand in that area of self-storage. Well, we're going to plunk 100,000 square feet right in the center. It's still undersupplied by 700,000 square feet. The math works, right? And you have one toilet, and we can, it's just. It's
you're running it
nice coming from the residential space,
and not with a lot of staff either, right? So you've got maybe one or two staff to be able to manage the storage units. Now, are you building these? Are you buying them, refurbishing them? Are you just buying them as is? What's your play here?
Yeah, so our main strategy is to buy. So we have a couple companies. We have a company that's finding raw land that's maybe not zoned for it, or it is maybe a conditional use, and we'll take that land and we'll do all of the zoning and permissions and environmentals and et cetera to get it to shovel ready, essentially. Okay, so that's one aspect. Then we're buying, the development company would buy that piece of dirt from this other company, and we'll build on it, and we'll build a state-of-the-art brand new self-storage facility from the ground up. These are going to be their Class A facilities. So if you've been to, some of the major metropolitans will have these facilities. They'll probably be 3 or 4 stories high, quite large. They'll be climate controlled. They look like apartment buildings. You could live in them, sort of. They're quite nice. They're in really nice locations, meaning that, we want it to be well lit location where women feel that they're safe to go there. We want, because they're one of the larger demographics that use storage. So it's not like storage used to be down the industrial dead end. It's not that way anymore. It's coming right to the main road now. And so we're building these. We're doing a lease up. And the beautiful thing about this is we partner with CubeSmart, which CubeSmart is a REIT, a real estate investment trust in the US. They own 80 or over 800 facilities. So one of the top 5 players, and they're doing our property management for us. So we literally build it, they manage it, they do the lease up. So we don't even have to be good at that, right? We'll leave that to the experts. And then once we've maximized the net operating income and maximized the potential profit on a sale, we'll liquidate it at that time.
All right, very cool. Now, how does this get funded? Are you bringing in investors to participate in that? Are you funding it with private lenders in a different way? Like, walk us through that part. Yeah,
so it's a GP-LP company setup. So it's a syndication. So we pool the capital. So this is a 506c offerings is what we do, which means that we work with accredited investors only. And on this particular deal that we're doing with Brian, we haven't mentioned that, but Brian Baumler is one of our partners. Yeah, Brian Baumler is one of our partners on this deal, on all of our self-storage deals. But so we'll work with accredited investors. The minimum investment's $100,000, and so we'll pool the capital. So on this particular project, it takes $4.7 million for the equity, and then we'll go to a bank and get the construction debt. The construction debt on this particular project is $14 million. Okay, and that combined is the total cost to construct. And it's a 3-year project, 3 years to build and get to stabilized, and then we'll liquidate it as soon as possible after that.
Very cool. So let's just say somebody like me, I'm accredited, I want to invest. What's the minimum investment amount?
Yeah, so a minimum investment's $100,000 US.
Okay. And how long is that money in there for?
So the money it's a 3 to 5 year project because the plan is to build it and sell it. So we want to make sure that we maximize the net operating income. Okay. So if we do that, with every unit rented, it increases the value by 22 times. Right. So we're going to maximize that. So it's likely not going to be right at 3 years when it's kind of stabilized. It's likely going to be very close to 4, but we're saying it's a 3 to 5 year project overall.
Okay. So essentially it's 100,000 US, and like, obviously we can't, promise specific returns, but like as a range, what are you thinking, roughly?
Yeah. So the projections on these types of projects, we're seeing anywhere from, realistically, we're seeing 20 to 25% IRR. So some of the people will understand that, which equates out to a 26% ROI, as a projected number. So, and that is realized in many different ways. So, we do a lot of these types of projects, and us as well, we'll do a preferred return, meaning that the investors are going to get 8 or 10%. We're doing a 10% preferred return that is accumulated along the way, and they'll realize that at the sale of the asset, as well as they'll get their share of cash flow along. So there's going to be a point at about 2.5 years where the rental income is actually covering all the debt, and there'll be cash flow to spare. So the cash flow will be given out to the investors based on the amount of equity that they own, and then of course the profit share at the disposition of the asset.
Okay, awesome. And what are some of the risks that somebody should be aware of as they're moving money over into a project like this if they were interested?
Yeah, this is a really great question, because especially when you're crossing border, as Canadians, we need to make sure that we're investing in the right entity structure, because there are certainly entity structures like LLCs where you're more prone to double taxation, which we want to completely avoid. So that is number one. Most of the other risk, in my opinion, in developments like this is who's in the general partner, right? Who's the people in control of this company or this development, because that is who you're really partnering with. You're investing in the people who have control of the project and their ability to actually execute. Right. So when I went into this, of course, we're into developments and residential space in Canada. I knew that my number one thing was to put together the best development team possible. And so we partnered with, Brian Baumler. He's got tons of 17 plus companies, over 150 staff. He's into developments in Ontario, obviously did the island and stuff in Florida. One of our other key consultants is a guy named Barry Sherman. Barry has personally owned and developed over 300 self-storage facilities. Right. So, together in my CFO is actually my cousin. He's a chartered accountant as well. So when you start to combine all these experiences, that is what you're trying to look for. So the risk really lies in that team in any type of project that you partner in.
Okay, amazing. And, this is one of, I'm sure, many projects. What are there, are you doing other self-storage facilities, units elsewhere? Are you looking at something different? I mean, that's quite a unique strategy.
Yeah, so this is actually the second facility. The first one we did, it's actually also in Houston, funny enough. There's just tons of demand in Houston, and it's kind of the Wild West. The zoning is permitted to build storage pretty much wherever you want. So these two are in Houston. Another one's in El Paso. We've got another one in Florida that we're looking at. So we're constantly doing due diligence and looking at sites to see which sites we can get under contract that are A+. And to do that, it's quite a feat. We've looked at probably 600 sites in the last 3 months and came up with 4. Right. So yeah, this is a strategy that's scalable, it's predictable, and we've got the team. So we're going to stick to that. And we're doing some residential flips again. That was part of the transacting and just jumping in with both feet and figuring it out and getting used to how things work in the United States.
Very cool. Now I do want to circle back to 75 hard. Because that is something that about 100 of us are starting, myself included. I don't know if I'll last the 75 days. We'll see. But, again, I admire your work-life balance and pushing yourself. And you talked about this at the retreat at Inspire Beach Resort. But 30,000-foot view of why you did that, why you're doing it, why you did it. And I think you've done it a few times. And what that is. Yeah,
so the 75-day hard, this is a challenge. It's a mental toughness challenge. So if you don't know, there's about 5 or 6 rules where you have to do 2 workouts a day. One has to be outside. Okay, 45 minutes long. You have to drink a gallon of water a day. You can't drink alcohol. You have to stick to a diet, take a personal development picture of yourself a day, and read 10 pages of a book. For me, the biggest thing was not drinking. And I'll be straight. I know this is going to be aired on TV and live here. So I'll be straight. I mean, yeah, I probably drank too much since I was a young adult. And, it really affects your clarity. It affects your drive. It affects how you perform. And it affects your relationships and everything. When I did this, my life changed. I went through it. And I was didn't drink for 75 days. And my business went like this. My relationships, I became a better parent, better father. And it was amazing. And then I saw myself after I did it, went back and hung around the same people, did the exact same things, felt the same way and acted the same way. But that's okay because I realized it. Right. And then I got back and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do next? I'm going to run 100 miles from Key Largo to Key West. I need to get back into that doing hard things, that mental toughness challenges that brought the clarity. And so I started doing an Ironman training for Ironman. And the same thing happened when I did that, because it's obviously it's physically hard, but it's really mentally hard. And I think that's one thing. And the results was that, our life and our businesses took off again, like the same result. And the thing that people I think need to, think about is that, we all go to the gym to, lose weight, get a 6-pack, all these things, but that take time, and we don't get the instant gratification that we need to stick to it. So I think we need to spin the script and say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym to work out, or I'm going to do this run to work out my mind, because that is something that you're going to feel amazing about immediately after. And it's enough reason for you to continue to go back to the gym.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a direct correlation with the business growth and everything else in between. So that was awesome. Thank you so much, Brady, for being on the show. What is the best way for our folks at home to reach out?
I think, honestly, the best way is Instagram. If you'd like to follow me, that'd be fun. I've got tons of content on there. I'd love to help people. So Brady.McDonald84 is my Instagram handle. That's probably the best way. And you can DM me, hit me up. If there's any way I can help you, I'd love to do so. Amazing. Brady, thank you so much. And folks at home, if you want more at home, we are now hosting monthly webinars where you can ask questions. You meet people like Brady and others sharing some amazing knowledge. So check out our website, which is everydayinvestor.com, and go to the webinars tab and you can find out more about our live webinars. Thank you for tuning in. Brady, thank you so much. See you next week.